Don't even worry about it. I've used computers before.
I feel like I've become something of a computer whiz in the past 20 years of my life.
You know, I'm something of a computer myself. Welcome to Direct-to-Video VHS.
VHS?
A podcast where we pair movies like fine wine.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I am your host, Tony Robusto.
And I am your other host, Andy Reyes.
We're out of the dog days of summer, despite what the current temperatures are where I live.
Yeah. It's also still pretty warm here.
And into, I don't know, I guess I'll just call it spooky season, right?
Yeah.
We're doing spooky season.
We're well into the spooky season.
It's Werewolf Pride Month.
Yes. We get more werewolf in this movie than I expected.
Yeah. Like a surprising amount of werewolf. The what I would call the main antagonistic monster in this movie was a huge surprise.
Really?
Because I think you're thinking of one guy, and it's not that guy, it's a giant bug.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because okay, we watched Goosebumps.
We watched Goosebumps 2015, a movie that is almost 10 years old.
I know, right? It makes seeing that kind of aged me. But I think it's because I never watched Goosebumps, so I have I can't conceive of how old it is. Slappy is the character you would think of when you say, oh, he's the main enemy in Goosebumps. He's the main emotional enemy in Goosebumps, kind of, sort of. He doesn't really do that well at being, like, a bad guy.
He's the mastermind.
Yeah, he's like the mastermind. But the thing that in every situation is like, oh no, oh my gosh.
We can. It is an unstoppable force. There is nothing that can be done with human powers to fight against it.
Is this giant praying mantis that I literally thought was only going to be in the quite good scene where Jack Black says, I don't remember writing a giant praying mantis, and then the praying mantis screams at him, he goes, oh yeah, now I remember. And he drives away. That was good, but this praying mantis is the only monster to almost get a body count.
I thought it did.
Me too, until the end of the movie.
I was like, damn, that guy's not making it to Goosebumps 2. I think they should have stuck with it. I think they should have just let us think that kid was dead. I don't think any parent would have been upset by this, you know?
This is the weirdest thing about this movie. In fact, let me look it up real quick. You might know off the top of your head, or you might have it. What's the rating on it?
This has to be a PG-13, right? No, this is a PG. This is a hard PG movie.
So this is the thing. I feel like it might want to be a PG-13. It would allow it some more scariness. It would make sense because all of the actors, there's nobody like under 12 in this movie, right?
No. In a weird way, this movie is kind of like a fish out of water high school story.
Yeah, and at times, if this was like a PG-13 or like an 80s soft R movie, it would almost become like a sex comedy. Like it is that amount of like out of place as a kids movie.
I would not go that far.
There were multiple scenes where I was like, in another movie, these two characters have sex.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do think that this, if I think about this from the perspective of like a Disney Channel original, because this movie's got big Disney Channel original energy.
It's what it feels most like, right? Even to the point of having like these teenagers are like the most beautiful teenagers.
They are chiseled out of stone teenagers.
And my cousin watches this Disney Channel stuff, and I'm like, what is up with these kids? Why do they look like that?
Well, I mean, one, I do think that there is an amount of like, we have a bit of bias here, which is that, it's a movie, so everyone in it has to be like impeccable. Even Jack Black in this movie is like a clean shaven, chiseled Jack Black. It's very odd.
He's the cleanest Jack Black you will ever see. He is very far away from Jumanji Jack Black or School of Rock Jack Black.
Yeah. It's very, very odd to see like a Chauvin Jack Black.
Ironically, the most interesting that I found Jack Black was when there was an implication that he was like a psychopath. And I was like, it is interesting to see Jack Black play like a goofy character that somebody else is seeing as a psychopath.
Yeah, that somebody else is like, this guy might be an abusive dad. And you're like,
right.
Yeah, keeps 110%.
His daughter inside all the time. That's super weird.
We know as an audience, well, this is Jack Black. He wouldn't hurt a fly.
He's fine.
But, this kid doesn't know that he's Jack Black.
Yes, it's exactly like when you were talking about falling in love with the bear from Brother Bear and how it's only normal if you know the voice actor for Brother Bear and not if you are in universe falling in love with the bear.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I want to before we really get into it, I want to give a big shout out to the Goosebumps wiki for doing the work of cataloging every single monster in this movie and the books that they were in.
Wonderful, because I did have questions about what I think is a vampire poodle.
Yes, Fifi the vampire poodle.
Great. Actually, that was all of my questions.
And that was from Please Don't Feed the Vampire.
Because I was like, what kind of poodle is this? And I realized it wasn't getting into the house. And I was like, it's a vampire poodle? Because she didn't invite it in?
Yeah. This movie's like chock full of cameos and stuff, which is like, on the one hand, it fine, because like Goosebumps is such a large property, a thing that the movie cannot stop talking about. But then the plot of the movie is saying, hey, these books are evil.
So that does make it a little complicated too. The idea of R.L. Stine being this tortured writer who had to create these monsters because he was so miserable is ridiculous if you've ever cracked one of these things open. The monster only shows up in the last 2 chapters. It's not that scary. The children win. Like 99% of the time.
Or if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever seen, you see R.L. Stine in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
R.L. Stine is like the most boring looking man.
I don't know. R.L. Stine has a very distinctive look.
Yeah,
He's kind of sharpish and has like a mole in the middle of his forehead. And as a kid, I could always tell when R.L. Stine was going by, despite the fact that I am borderline have borderline face blindness.
No, 110%.
The girl, when she changed her hair at the end of the movie, I was like, that doesn't even look like her. That's not the same actor.
When she wasn't wearing it pulled back, you mean?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so funny. So many people in my life have face blindness or are borderline face blind, which is very funny to me because I am not. I am like I'm a hawk, like I will recognize somebody that I haven't seen in decades. I'll be like, oh shit. So that's, it's a curse kind of, because I'll never remember their name. So the plot of this movie, as we've mentioned earlier, is fish out of water. Like this kid, who has the most dead dad a kid could ever have.
A comically dead dad.
Yeah. Zach, his name is Zach. Him and his mom are moving to Madison, Wisconsin from New York.
His mom is played by Amy Ryan. And I'm just mentioning it because at the beginning of the movie, I was like, I really like these two. And it turned out that I really liked Amy Ryan. And once she was no longer on screen, I was like, Zach's okay.
He is doing a perfectly serviceable job, but Amy Ryan is fantastic.
She's like super charismatic in every scene she's in, except for the one where she weirdly doesn't believe her son when he reports that he just saw this girl being abused by her dad.
I mean, to be fair, the move that Jack Black, R.L. Stine makes is, oh yeah, my daughter who lives in London.
It's so weird. Does she think he was lying about this girl's existence? Like,
right, for a severely long part of the movie.
Anyway, we're not there yet. They're literally driving into town they just moved, kind of classic Goosebumps style, moving into a new neighborhood.
This is the beginning of like 20 Goosebumps books.
Yeah.
And also, you know, like, I don't know, it's also the beginning of like Halloween Town and like a bunch of other kids' horror movies. It's a great way to like skip a lot of bullshit.
Come into a new place, you get to find out about the new place. It did make me think of one thing though. There is at least one Goosebumps. Okay, cards on the table. I did not read Goosebumps as a kid.
God damn, are you serious?
I don't know. I read Animorphs, Andy. I don't know fuck all about Goosebumps. Okay. But Chamie and I were watching an interesting review video series, so I know a few of them. And one of them has these people move into a new house, and everybody in the town is dead and ghosts, and they need to devour the living. To keep continuing. And those monsters never show up in this movie, which is good, because those are humans. Those are just dead humans, and genuinely, like, one of the more scary things you can think of in, like, a Goosebumps capacity. Way scarier than an evil clown is a normal person who turns out to be a monster. We get no normal people who turn out to be monsters, but it did make me think, well, they're pulling their punches a little bit in this Goosebumps movie.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I feel like there's a lot of Goosebumps books, like the monster in the monster under the basement, where at the like pivotal point in that book is at the end they have two dads, and one of the dads is a plant monster.
So good,
and they have to figure out which one's the real one. It's like, yeah, that would have been awesome. I can see why if you're being told by Sony you cannot go over a PG rating, why you would kind of probably avoid that stuff.
Not to get too in the weeds, except I did want to say that phrase. But in the scene where they're trying to kill the plant or their dad, they're trying to figure out which one to kill, they are using plant killer, so they could just spray both of them.
Right, they could just, you know, be like,
it would work itself out.
I thought it was an axe. I thought they hacked him to death.
Do you know what it was?
The plant version.
I watched the review thing of it. I think in the book it might have been an axe, and then in the TV show it turned into plant killer. But it meant that
that makes sense.
Scene no longer works in the TV show.
Yeah, you can't just have two kids and their dad going to town on a plant man. I don't know. I think you can get away with it.
Yeah, it'll be a fun show.
Right away, this movie does something that I think is really fun, which is like it has that like almost The Shining like title appear,
and then it morphs.
Yeah, for like it morphs into the like proper Goosebumps like title treatment, and I was like, that's cute. Like we were gonna pretend for a second like we were above, that classic Goosebumps look.
But we are exactly this. There's a Detroit joke that has, through no fault of this movie, really not aged well, and I did not like.
Oh, it's there is a comparison happening at the beginning of this movie that I'm just like, listen, one of these places is like a CIA black site, and the other two places have problems, but they are just places where people live.
They are places where people live. They do not. Dylan does not. Sorry, Zach. Dylan was
Zach.
The actor's name. Zach does not want to live. I'm looking at IMDb. That's why I did that. Zach does not want to live in this new town because he's from New York where, like, stuff was always happening. And now they're moving out into the middle of nowhere. But his mom just became vice principal here. So, like, fucking suck it up, man. And they're trying to move away from the memory of his dead dad, which is not how it works, but okay.
Yeah, memories tend to follow you. And this kid loves his daddy. He, at one point in this movie is like, yeah, I brought 2 boxes inside. I'm going to go decorate my room. And then just sits on the floor and watches, like, VHS videos of his dad playing baseball with him.
It's a good scene, genuinely.
No,
However,
for real.
This does not set up his supposed emotional arc. The problem with this movie is its insistence that this child with almost no real problems or emotional stakes in what's happening is the main character.
It's kind of tough because I do think that this actor is doing a, like, decent enough job.
It's not his fault. It's the writing's fault. It's kind of Ant-Man. It's kind of the Ant-Man problem where it's like, why is this guy Ant-Man? Clearly, either this old man or the old man's daughter should be Ant-Man.
Yes, no, 110%. I do think it's a problem with how, for lack of a better word, efficient the script in this movie is. Mm-hmm. We speed run in the first 5 minutes what would in any other movie be like a solid half of the movie, which is like, yeah, he's going to high school. He's kind of he's associating himself with losers. And there's like a hot girl next door that he's going to be obsessed with. We got to get to the shit.
Boom, boom, boom. Jack Black's being weird. Hot girl next door. The loser's name is literally Champ, which R.L. Stine does make fun of him for.
I have to tell you a story.
Okay.
About Champ, because I was going to wait, but we've brought it up. So I was listening to... All right, so in order to make sure that I don't forget to plug my phone into my car, I have my car's radio station set to just a local Christian radio station.
Okay, a choice.
Because then the moment my car turns on, the radio turns on, and I'm like, oh, I need to plug my phone in to end this suffering. But every once in a while, the Christian radio station has a talk show where they, like, give advice. And I shit you not, a man calls in and he's like, yeah, me and my wife are having, problem, like arguments. And she's threatened to divorce because when our child was born, we named him a very unique name. And now that he's like almost 3, she wants to change it to a more normal name. Mm-hmm. And I shit you not, that kid's name was Champ.
It's a dog name is the problem. It's a dog name.
And also, you're like, this guy is wrong. Don't name your child this.
Don't name your child this.
Because, and this is what the one of the people on the radio said. If your child grows up to be like an athlete, it's fine. Who cares? But if they turn out to be just kind of like a loser, it's a death sentence.
And here's what I genuinely think happened with poor Champ in this movie. A fairly normal dude immediately gets downgraded to loser for having the shittiest name.
For having the name Champion.
And, like, of course he was gonna become a loser. Because, like, he has to introduce himself as Champion.
Now, to be fair, this kid has not one. Of all the characters in this movie, this is the one character I'm like, you could take them out of this movie. I feel it's not their fault. They're just mildly annoying to me.
The moment that he is introduced to the main plot of this movie is so nonsensical to me. I was like, why did you call this guy for this thing? He doesn't need to call in backup at all. He's trying to be sneaky, but he calls Champ. We're jumping a little bit ahead, but not that much because I guess the next thing is he goes on a weird date with Hannah.
Oh, that's right. They go to an abandoned amusement park, which is the coolest thing that you can go to.
It is, I love it. But it's like super, super weird that this town that has fucking nothing in it apparently had enough of an economy to half build an amusement park and then decide, fuck it, and just walk away, but also keep all the electricity pumping into the amusement park. I don't hate it. I just think it's funny.
I agree. I love it. I love an abandoned amusement park.
I was pretty sure they were going to kiss in the giant cloud mouth, and then they climbed the Ferris wheel.
I also thought that the funhouse was going to be the thing.
Yeah.
The place to be, but no, it's the Ferris wheel.
And they got the Ferris wheel.
Romantic.
It turns out it's the Ferris wheel. I'm like, all right, Ferris wheel's romantic. They don't kiss yet.
I was going to say, they don't kiss in that Ferris wheel at all, and I was fully expecting it.
I counted it. Because they kissed in front of the Ferris wheel after it had been knocked down by a bunch of monsters at the end of the movie.
That is true.
I was like, all right.
That doesn't count. You got to be sitting at the top of the Ferris wheel. That's you'll
have to ask the judges. Okay.
All right. All right. Well, we'll leave it up to the Supreme Court.
Oh, let's not.
We'll see. Yeah, whatever choice they pick is the wrong choice, and that's how we'll know. So
they get back home, and Jack Black is immediately like, "Where'd you go? What happened?" And he drags Hannah away. Nails up the loose board that she'd been sneaking through to fucking flirt with the next door neighbor. And Zach goes in and he kind of rear windows an argument between them. Like he looks out his window and they are like fighting and he hears her scream.
This like exact scene happens in the old Spider-Man movie, oddly enough.
So the thing that's weird, really, is that like this is enough of an emergency already that, like, I do think he should have grabbed his mom, told her what happened, ran to the door, and just had him say, like, could we just have her wave at us? Because what Jack Black does when he answers the door is tell them there was no scream, you didn't hear anything, which is like, oh my god, he killed her. Holy shit. Like,
and then,
what?
Well, but then he, these two cops, I love it when a movie makes fun of cops. These are some primo idiot cops.
These are bad cops.
You do not see this in movies anymore. You're not allowed to have like comic relief cops anymore for a variety of reasons. But I love it when a movie is willing to be like, yeah, cops are stupid.
These are pretty good comic relief cops. I like that the one cop is, like, trying to make this a learning opportunity for the other one who's like, this is like your second day on the job or something. And so Jack Black is standing there, like, really mugging to the camera.
like, take your time. It's fine. I'm just being accused of being of kidnapping a child. But sure. Jack Black is really going for it in this role, by the way. He is the only person in this movie talking like that, if you know what I mean.
So the weakness that I think is in this movie is the fact that Jack Black is for some reason not the main character.
Right, yes, I agree.
Because they give him all the best lines, they give him all the, like, emotional connection to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's time for a big emotional scene, Zach does it. And I don't think he has a big emotional arc, is the confusing thing.
His emotional arc is, he's lonely because his dad died, I
think he's trying to get over his dad, but like you said, we really sped past the dad shit. We got that 5 minutes at the beginning, and it will not come up again, except for kind of he mentions it once.
At one point, his mom tells his aunt, who's amazing,
she's fun. That's Jillian Bell.
His mom tells his aunt that he's walling himself up. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's like doing jokes. He's participating in society. He's like clearly not over his dad, but like he's doing fine.
He's doing okay. Like, is he doing perfect? No, his dad died.
You know who's doing worse? Anne Hathaway in Princess Diaries. She's doing terrible.
Anne Hathaway in Princess Diaries was doing terrible.
She was not having a good time with her dad dead. This kid, he's sad about it, but he's just watching some home videos about it.
He's gonna go make some moves on the next door neighbor, like fucking immediately.
Instantly. The moment he sees her, he's like, all right.
He is ready to carpe diem. He's like, okay.
Can I just say this? Because I do think this is like a bit of a casting error. They look like they're in different grades, right?
I thought she looked pretty young.
Yes.
but I don't know that she actually is.
No, I don't think so. It's one of those things where it's one of those things where these are both actors who are probably like close to their 20s playing teens, and they both look like teens. The problem is like he looks like an older teen and she looks like a younger teen.
Right.
And so it's just one of those things where I was like, yeah, it's a hard thing to work with for sure, but
their ages are like 6 months away from each other. It's not that weird, but it's like it is a little bit like
it's high school weird, right? Like,
yeah, it's like high school weird.
It's high school weird.
She's explicitly 16, and I don't think we ever get his age. He might be 16.
Could be 17.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, right? Is like, who knows? Because we're playing with movie teens,
right?
And sometimes movie teens are allowed to look 30.
Sometimes movie teens are played by 28-year-olds.
Yeah.
Sometimes you watch Heathers and you're like, all these teenagers are older than me.
Yeah. Sometimes you watch, what was that musical? Dear Evan Hansen, and, inexplicably...
Oh, God, that's not even fair.
Inexplicably, one teen looks like a 40-year-old man. It's like, what can you do? The police find no fault with Jack Black's dwelling.
Mm-hmm.
But Zach is not convinced, and after being grounded in what is the worst punishment possible, spending an afternoon bedazzling with his aunt.
Spending evening, because his mom has to go to the dance. This is actually, like, important to the plot. His mom has to go to I think it's homecoming, because it's gotta be early in the... No?
I don't think they ever say it's homecoming. They just say it's a dance.
Anyway, it's a dance. You know what he calls it? Champ calls it a semi-formal. Now that I say that. And I don't know if that's a specific thing, but anyway.
I think that's just the dress code.
But it still sounds like something that you might call a dance in itself. Aunt Lorraine is there. She is really pathetic and really fun. She says two great lines here. She says, "We went out for sushi and both of us got the chicken teriyaki, so it's fate, right?" And I was like, it took me like a half a minute to realize how funny that was.
That is so good.
And she says, "Well, that's what my psychic keeps telling me. Stop dating losers and never go on a plane." I also really like because he's not paying attention, right? He's like thinking about the mysterious goings on of his hot next door neighbor. At one point, he just agrees with her, and she's like, "So you think he lost his phone?" He's like, "Yeah, he lost his phone, or maybe like it broke in a fire." and she's immediately like, "Well, now I think he might be dead." So
I love that. I love her. She's so good. I wish she was more integral to the film.
So this is actually my issue with both her and Zach's mom, is I actually feel like, and this is no fault of the teenage cast, the older people could sell this film.
Yes.
And they're just not being allowed to be in front of the camera enough. There's a bit later where Zach will meet up with his mom and she fucking lets him leave again. And I was like, no way! And started immediately writing a better movie in my head where she leaves instead to try to stop the monsters with Jack Black, and then he follows her. And I was like, this is how you would get to the end of this movie.
This is the thing, I think. And I think this is like kind of the key problem, is that this movie wants to be a kid's movie, right? Mm-hmm. It wants to be like a Disney Channel original flick, but it also knows that there is going to be a lot of parents in attendance because no child has read Goosebumps. Goosebumps is like, it belonged in the 90s, like those people are in their 30s. They have kids now.
To be fair, it did come out in 2015.
Sure.
So a lot of them would have been around, maybe a little bit older than Zach, like around the age for watching Toy Story 3, This is a nostalgia piece, less than it's like about actually getting goosebumps about seeing the monsters. Yeah,
it is. And they lean into that with the monsters and how they use them. But why are we doing all of this high school, lovey-dovey shit? Like, this is not the movie. it should be, I think a gooder. No.
A gooder. No, I like it. More good.
A more good movie choice would have been to focus on the adults and to have it be like, yeah, we're all the adult versions of the Goosebumps kids.
That would have been so good. That would have been kind of like it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now, arguably the part of it that nobody likes as much, but still.
But wouldn't people like it more if it was Goosebumps?
If it were Goosebumps? Maybe.
There's an amazing Stephen King joke in this movie, and I love it.
There are like 2 amazing Stephen King jokes in this movie. I like the idea that R.L. Stein fucking hates Stephen King. Hates being compared to him. That's so funny.
It's such a good idea. These are people who live in like different worlds, and yet they are both like weird East Coast, small town, impossibly tall, lanky horror writers.
And like, so you put them together in your mind, but like, I don't even know if Stephen King has ever written a children's book. I'm sure he's read a children's book.
No, I don't even know he's written one children's book, sort of. And
I'm pretty sure R.L. Stein has never written an adult horror book, which is fine. I think
he has, but not as like R.L. Stein.
Yeah, that would make sense.
He wrote I think he wrote other stuff.
Yeah, like how Daniel Handler occasionally writes a not Lemony Snicket book.
Yeah, and that's Daniel Handler's shit. God, is my man really still writing Goosebumps books to this day?
I suspect that much like Stephen King, he has actually written a bunch of them in advance, and they just come out twice a year.
Oh yeah. I've been listening to Just King Things, a podcast by Range Touch, which is a fantastic exercise in futility, where they are reading every Stephen King book in publication order.
Cool.
And he doesn't do that. Stephen King used to every once in a while take a short story or something that he had written and like publish it, just because, why not? Right. He doesn't do that anymore though.
Interesting.
Because his writing pace has slowed down since his car accident.
Oh, that's fair. I saw an old interview with him. He was talking about how, because he's a horror writer, he thinks about these things. And he thought, if I died, how long could my family and my publishers pretend I was still alive? And he was like, I think they could do it for 5 years, because I have some like half-written stuff that my son could finish up.
Yeah,
I have some stuff like it.
The man publishes like 2 books a year.
Yeah.
Which is insane. But and I don't think R.L. Stein has the I don't think his output is nearly as consistent, but the fact that he's still out here like a Goosebumps book came out like in 2022, which is insane. All right,
good for him.
Yeah.
So Zach calls Champ. Champ is the aforementioned loser we were talking about.
Yes.
He wants him to be lookout while Zach breaks into the neighbor's house to go check on Hannah. We don't know that yet, but yes.
You're like, oh, come on.
To go check on Hannah. So he breaks into the house. Champ loses his nerve and can't stay outside and follows him down. There are a bunch of bear traps in the basement. It turns out not for any particularly good reason.
No, that's not true. They are there for a good reason, because they
use them later, but there is no implication besides the bear traps that R.L. Stein has ever actually planned for the monsters to get released.
Yeah,
that's what bothered me about it. Is it's like he had those bear traps down just in case a bunch of gnomes got released. He had to run away and have them all get smashed by the bear traps. That's super weird, because I thought there was a monster that he was trying not to get out right now.
My headcanon was that he put those bear traps down like that night when he left the house.
Because he just left and nothing was protecting the house. That's maybe.
So he was like, I'm going to lock the front door. I'm going to put some bear traps down. I don't want this hot teen getting near my hot teen daughter.
That's fair. He's very protective of his forever young daughter. Sorry, spoilers. So they get in the house. They find Hannah. She's fine. But before they found her, they did unlock a weirdly locked copy of the Abominable Snowman of
Pasadena.
Pasadena.
Which is in California.
Which, if we're talking R.L. Stine books, and specifically also the monsters in this movie, is a pretty good first get.
It really is.
As far as, like, fuck, is this monster going to immediately kill me? No. This Abominable Snowman appears to basically be a big monkey. So is kind of more curious about stuff than mad about it. And that's very good for not being immediately murdered. It turns out kind of bad in the long run.
And it also sets the tone for, like, the level of CGI we need to expect from this movie.
It's not bad CGI, but it's sort of cartoony. It's sort of loose. And it never makes you think this is, like, scary or real, you know?
Yeah. It's going for a very particular kind of, like, almost intentionally, like, animated. Because the monsters are animated very well, but they are animated like cartoons as opposed to like a horror movie where, you know, we're going to try to make this thing look like it's real and going to kill you.
Right. We're not seeing the alien from Aliens here.
And as opposed to Slappy, who I believe is just a real dummy that they were using.
I never like the idea. I don't even find Slappy or dummies scary. I'm not sure it's a good idea to have a movie about a haunted dummy and then make it for real. It just seems like you're tempting fate. One day the dummy's gonna be evil. And for some reason, Slappy can fucking teleport.
It's very clever. It's clearly because they were like, we could not get moving this thing around to work.
How is Slappy scary? Well, because he's so hard to keep an eye on. Because, as has been pointed out before, actually, that's one of the least, if you think about it, least threatening, monsters. I mean, they basically kill all those gnomes over and over, and Slappy's not bigger than the gnomes.
I mean, at the end of the movie, Jack Black gets a real good, like, football kick on him, and it is the funniest thing in the world. It's so good.
I was so distracted by the end of the movie because I was like, Jack Black should be in the emotional scene.
No, yeah, he really should, but
that's not Zach's daughter being sucked into a fucking book. He doesn't know this girl. They released the Abominable Snowman. Pretty good get, not terrible. They do accidentally make it mad, and it ends up smashing through a wall and running away into the night.
Yeah, and so they chase it down to the local ice rink.
I guess it likes the cold, which tracks. I don't know how cold it gets in Pasadena. I assume cold enough for
Pasadena is in Southern California, and
Southern California.
Yeah, I've been to Pasadena. It's a decent. It's like all right.
Oh, right. It's in Los Angeles County.
Yeah, that is in fact the joke of the book. Is
oh, all right. That's not bad.
They, we had a decent action scene where they fail to capture it, but it's okay because
there are some consistently good action scenes in this movie. They're actiony, but they're kind of silly, and some of them go on too long. But I mean, mostly they're pretty good because stuff is happening.
It's the movie, right? Like, this is the movie that you've signed up for, is like, we are here to watch these monsters monster out. And I do think that for the most part, we move from set piece to set piece at a good pace until we get to the high school. And then things kind of halt for a little bit.
We peter out a bit. And the high school could have been a cool set, a cool idea. They can't do a fucking,
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, like, exactly, like Shaun of the Dead. I was trying to think of the right zombie movie. They can't do, like, an everybody versus the zombies thing. But that's what I wanted to have happen when they enlisted all these kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is just, there's just too many kids. We have an entire, school of children.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we should have tightened this down to just, Zach, Hannah, Jack Black, Lorraine, and Zach's mom. That's right. That's 5 people. That's a good number of people. Have the rest of the town be frozen and make this more of a Shaun of the Dead type thing.
Yes. During this fight, with the Abominable Snowman, the rules are revealed. If the book is unlocked and opened, it will summon out the monster from the book.
Yeah.
But you can open the book and get the monster back in if it's close enough.
If it's close
and then
enough.
You can lock it again. Jack Black gets the monster back in the book, reveals he's R.L. Stine. He's very mad at them for doing this, drives home, and it turns out, oops, the abominable snowman had knocked over the bookshelf on the way out.
I love this scene because Jack Black is like, well, this is clearly all Zach's fault. Hannah tries to defend him like, no, the abominable snowman must have knocked over the bookshelf. To which Jack Black rightly points out, and why did that happen, huh? So I'm still blaming him. It's good. This movie is genuinely really funny.
Yes, it is. It is funny. That's what it excels at. Slappy is there being threatening. Jack Black is weirdly good at playing opposite Slappy.
Well, there's a reason for that. This is because Slappy is voiced by Jack Black.
I didn't even realize.
This is such a good idea because Slappy gets out of the book and he's like, oh, it's been a while. Let's destroy a town again. And you're like, hold on.
And Jack Black's like, yeah, we're going to totally destroy the town, as trying to go for his book. But Slappy does his teleport thing and steals all the fucking books and Jack Black's car.
No, he doesn't steal Jack Black's car.
You're right. Whose car does he steal? Is that the car from Goosebumps?
That car is from Goosebumps. That's the haunted car from the haunted car.
Okay, yes, sorry, excuse me. I at first thought it was that, and then when it seemed to be a normal car, I thought it was Jack Black's car, and did not consider that actually he drives around later. That car is never a monster in this movie, and that's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slappy's, his plan is to release all the books, and also burn them, so that they can't be returned to the books. It's a good plan. Jack Black tells Hannah, like, get your stuff, we're getting out of here, we're leaving. Like, he's ready to just, like, bounce before this gets any worse, and just, like, lead a new life. He has multiple passports, presumably with many different names in them, like he's fucking Stanley Pines, and the kids don't want to leave it to, like, come back. Jack Black screams and throws something at him and goes, I could have killed you! And they just say that was a terrible throw. I just like that bit.
It's good. It's so good.
I would love for there to be like 2 more jokes, at least, in this movie about how, as a writer, R.L. Stine is not prepared for this level of activity.
I also would enjoy that. You put into existence the idea of Jack Black playing Uncle Stan.
He'd be great at it.
I think he would genuinely do a really good job.
I do not want a live action version of Gravity Falls.
No, I don't think it needs to exist. But, like, wasn't Jack Black in another movie exactly like this called A House with the Clock in Its Walls?
Oh, I actually saw that one. Not really. That one was a little bit more Harry Potter inspired, I think.
Okay.
I think it was based on that time when all the young adult books were coming out. It was all about, like, kids finding out that they're magic.
Yeah.
But it was, like, low-key horror, but, like, a coming-of-age thing for this kid. He was a fun character in it, for sure. But he wasn't, like, a shyster. He was actually just a wizard.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's awesome. Jack Black as just a wizard? That's good. That's good casting.
He was good. It was him, and I forget who he was playing opposite, but they had a lot of good chemistry, and she was essentially, like, Cate Blanchett. She was essentially playing Mary Poppins.
That's awesome. That's so good.
And it was, like, really fun.
The idea of, like, Merlin, like a Merlin style wizard and Mary Poppins just kind of hanging out and having good tension is very fun to me. We
cut to the monsters? No, I'm sorry. They go driving after the monsters to try to.
No. They get attacked by the lawn gnomes.
Oh, you're right. I skipped over
from Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes and Planet of the Lawn Gnomes.
There were 2 books with the lawn gnomes. Okay, so scary they did them twice.
There are like 5 Slappy books, dude. So, like, you know.
Well, the first one, Slappy barely even shows up. I do know that from that same review video I was talking about.
Yeah, he's like shows up like at the end, but yeah.
The like Night of the Puppet or whatever it was a fucking different puppet.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, you're right. So they get attacked by these lawn gnomes. There's a pretty good scene. They're kind of gremlin-y.
Yeah. They also like they do the fun thing where like as they move, it like breaks their the porcelain, and that's
They
awesome.
don't have hinges on their arms and legs, and so they like crack whenever they move, and it's good. It could be creepy. They don't play it creepy, but it does leave that amount of creepiness in there. There's also something that I quite liked, just for the insistence on the logic of it. I have seen like cartoons and shit where somebody tries to hit somebody, like something on somebody's face with a frying pan.
Yeah.
And what always happens is they get the thing off right before the frying pan hits. But not this time, because I think Champ hits Jack Black straight in the face with the frying pan while the gnome is on him.
Yep.
And the gnome doesn't absorb that fucking blow. He just hits Jack Black with a frying pan. And I was like, yeah, that's what would happen.
Yeah, this is good. It was good. It was a solid scene.
It was still a bad idea to use the frying pan.
Yeah, at one point Jack Black gets like Gulliver's traveled by the gnomes and they're dragging him to the oven.
To the point where it just made me remember that he's in Gulliver's Travels.
Yeah, I was also like, this is a little egregious, but alright.
He's just doing this like every movie now.
They manage to escape. We get a great scene where they're running through the basement and we're getting to watch these lawn gnomes just getting absolutely eviscerated by these bear traps.
That's a good move. Yep.
And now they're chasing after Slappy in the car. And this is when we cut to Slappy and what Slappy's doing, which is just releasing monsters all over town.
So, one of the things I wanted to mention, besides the fact that I believe this is when Slappy decides to take over the police department, which is fun, he uses freeze gun wielding aliens to do it.
Yes.
Fucked up. That's too strong a monster, frankly. It's a good thing it never actually comes after Jack Black and the kids.
I'm trying to remember who those guys are, but I am having trouble finding them. There are a lot of fucking monsters in this movie, guys. Are these the body squeezers?
I mean, I don't remember body squeezers, so maybe.
I think these are the body squeezers.
That would kind of make sense as like a body snatcher's spin.
Yeah, they're the body squeezers, correct. Okay,
good lord. These are nasty fuckers on the original cover.
Yeah. They went for more of like a retro sci-fi look for the movie.
They look like the Mars Attacks guys, kind of.
Yeah, something like that.
They freeze the police. It turns out they freeze the entire town. When we see the town as they're driving through it, they have made good on the concept of destroying this town. This town is destroyed, and that impressed me.
I was so thrilled. Later, when they're being chased by the giant praying mantis, that praying mantis like straight up barrels into what looks like Liberty Hall.
Yeah. And Slappy takes down what has to be the only cell tower within like a 10-mile radius, so nobody can call anyone.
Yes, he does. With the creeper plant, with the evil creeper plant from your plant food. This is my role in this podcast now.
It's super good. He's like really going for it, and I found that impressive.
Yeah, and then while they're in the car, they get attacked very briefly by the Invisible Boy.
Very fun. I did like this scene.
Yeah, this is from My Best Friend is Invisible. They get attacked by, as we mentioned before, the giant praying mantis, which is a classic Goosebumps. Everyone has seen this cover.
Well, now I gotta see it. What's it called? Is it just called The Giant Praying Mantis?
No, it's called A Shocker on Shock Street. Oh, it is an all-time classic banger cover.
Let's see this banger cover. Oh, I'll tell you what. Yeah, it's a good cover. Although, the praying mantis looks a bit like an ant in this cover, I feel like.
Yeah, listen, all right, the cover artist for all of the Goosebumps books is a guy named Tim Jacobus, and apparently he had a very short turnaround period.
Just
for doing a lot of these covers.
Yes, they get attacked by the praying mantis. They have to hide out in the local grocery store, where they find a werewolf.
From the Werewolf of Fever Swamp. I really like this scene. It wilds me out that they got a brand deal for Boom Chicka Pop. And I don't think any other thing in this supermarket is branded, which must have been a nightmare for the set designers.
Look, and this is like a huge part of their job. They already have a bunch of these sitting around, fake labels and shit. It happens. So, in or around this part, they do come up with a plan.
Yeah.
They need to get the monsters back in the book, but they know that Slappy's burning the books. Zach asks why Jack Black can't just write some more books. He's like, it's not how that works. You can't just write one book with all the monsters in it and they'll all go back in it. But they're like, can't you? And he says, okay, you probably can. And...
Because, why not?
He needs his typewriter, which is at the school, because it's him and the typewriter together that create these monsters. And what nobody in the movie says, but my cousin did, because we watched this together, she said, couldn't he have just used another typewriter if he didn't want to summon monsters? And yes, I can find no fault in this logic. He probably should have stopped using that typewriter after the first evil clown.
I think the implication, based on what he said and also what him and Slappy talk about, is that for a while, he was kind of high on it. He was just moving from town to town and just, making a Goosebumps episode happen.
He is running away from his past of essentially being Alan Wake.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely it. He is Alan Wake, except instead of looking for his wife, he is attacking society.
Yeah.
You
know what? Big mood, Jack.
No, I totally get it. I think that's awesome.
The werewolf is here. They get a bunch of werewolf shenanigans. They run out of the
The supermarket.
Yeah, the grocery store, and they run into Aunt Lorraine, who hits the werewolf with her car.
I love this.
Knocks into a dumpster and says, oh no, I'm pretty sure I killed that bear. Then something crazy happens. Zach, who has met the two police in this town and knows they're fucking garbage, and should reasonably think nobody but R.L. Stine could stop this madness now, looks straight into his aunt's eyes and says, go get the police and tell them to meet us at the high school.
Now, I think you misheard him, Tony, because I think what he literally says to her is, I need you to be out of this movie for the rest of the movie. But
it's not what he says. It's not what he says. He says, I need you to be out of this movie for the rest of this movie, and I need Slappy to know where we're going.
Yeah. The screenwriters have told me through the power of writing that they hate fun and good characters. And so
they hate the fact that you and Jack Black are flirting super hard right now in a very funny way.
What does Jack Black tell her? He's like, your reckless driving has in fact saved our lives.
Something like that.
Which is so good.
And then later when she says, should we exchange numbers? And he's already running away. He's like, it's not a good time, but yes!
It's awesome. It's so good. They have a full 3-minute eyes locked falling in love moment.
Yeah.
And so when Zach in fact tells her that she needs to be out of the movie now, I was shocked.
It's so weird. And it's again, the main problem I think this movie has is having these really powerful
adult
actors who are just not allowed to be in the movie. The main thing that Amy Ryan does is get hit on
by this gym teacher.
You're wasting her.
Also, again, this gym teacher, I hate this character. I love this character because this whole gym teacher's entire existence is, here's a single mom, this is my chance, and her having to constantly remind him, this is in fact not the time. They don't hook up at the end of this movie.
No, absolutely not.
Which is so good.
I actually don't know the inner workings of a school that well, but I think she might be his boss.
She is, in fact, at the very least, capable of firing him.
She, outranks him. She could definitely tell her boss, the principal, you need to hire a different gym teacher because this guy's a fucking creep.
Yeah, this guy will not let down.
We have super beautiful children around here, and he should not be around them.
Look at this school filled with beautiful children. And Champ.
Poor Champ.
Poor Champ. Not a bad-looking guy. It's just, the school's filled with apparently Madison, Wisconsin is where Adonises go to die.
Apparently. Well, where they go to high school.
Yeah, sorry, where they go to high school. So they go through the graveyard. They get attacked by ghouls. It is at this point that Zach figures out that Hannah is in fact a ghost.
Oh, shit, man. Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I didn't realize she was a ghost.
Oh, yeah, no, she is in fact Hannah Fairchild from the book The Ghost Next Door.
The book The Ghost Next Door, the one I was talking about where all the ghosts are going to kill him? Is that The Ghost Next Door?
I believe it is.
Awesome.
I'd have to double check.
I was wondering, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because I'll be honest, I kept wondering, like, why is the way they're showing that Hannah isn't real, that whenever the moon hits her, she gets all glowy? And it's because she's a ghost, specifically, because Jack Black can only bring monsters to life.
Okay, so, this is not the one you were talking about.
Okay.
This is a different, this is a book where, Hannah's neighbor moves in, and she's convinced that him and his family are ghosts, but then at the end of the book, you find out that actually she's the ghost.
She's the ghost the whole time. Good twist.
Good twist.
I guess probably the ghouls are close to what I was talking about, because I keep calling them ghouls, not zombies, so I'm assuming they're different than zombies.
I do think that the ghouls are, in fact, from...
They get out of the, They get to the school, right?
Yes.
And they're looking for the typewriter. Jack Black tries to have an emotional scene with Zach about how they're both trying to hold on to stuff. But the problem is, it sounds like at the end of this scene, they're both ready to let Hannah go? Like, that's what it sounds like?
And the problem, this is the problem with Hannah being the, like, literal manifestation of their trauma.
Yes.
Yeah, they both kind of agree. Yeah, maybe neither of us should be hanging out with Hannah.
Maybe we shouldn't be holding on to something that's not real so hard.
Then the movie's like, nah.
If this movie had the courage of its fucking convictions, but it doesn't.
They should have done it too. They could have done it. They should have done it.
This movie refuses to have a body count. The number was 2 for a second there, and then it went down to 0. It was miserable.
I know.
Jack Black gets his typewriter.
He needs to find a place to write while the kids help, like, the entire school barricade themselves from the oncoming cameo attack, from the Avengers Endgame before Avengers Endgame scene.
Now, you didn't know a crossover like this was possible, man. It was 2015.
We didn't have a chance. And also, in my opinion, works better.
On a certain level, yeah.
On, like, an emotional level, I think it works better. So he finds an in the middle of being decorated school production of The Shining.
Which is in itself the wildest choice. Are there school productions of The Shining?
No.
Two high school drama teachers watch the Kubrick film and are like, I could do this with children.
If it is, it has to be like the drama teacher wrote it production.
Right, absolutely.
Which actually, knowing who the drama teacher is, I fully believe now.
Oh, right, because the drama teacher's R.L. Stein.
Because the drama teacher's R.L. Stein.
Excuse me, Mr. Black. That's R.L. Stein's cameo.
I love that. That's so cute.
Yeah. Which is, if you don't know, but you probably do, listener, I'm sure Andy knows this. It's funny in 2 ways. One, because Jack Black has... at least once, I think twice, talked about how he's better than Stephen King, and Stephen King's like a hack.
Yeah, at 2 points in this movie.
And then he comes into here, and the other joke, of course, is that the main character in The Shining is trying to write a book on a typewriter.
And also his name is Jack.
So he's sitting there straight up, like, all they have is a big... banner that says The Shining and, like, the badly put together set of a hotel room and a table in the middle. It's
like a table, the carpet, and then, like, 4 doors, and one of them says Red Room. Like, yes. It is the most avant-garde production of The Shining I've ever seen.
It's excellent. It reminds me a lot of the high school production of Romeo and Juliet I saw, where it all took place on a playground.
Yeah.
But there was not the implication that it wasn't real. It was just like they had a playground set, so they just used it.
They were like, why not? You know, this is the power of theater.
It's so good.
It's amazing. Also, the typewriter he has is a Smith Corona, which is a very nice typewriter.
I mean, is he going to use a shitty typewriter to write Slappy into existence, Andy?
To write Slappy out of existence.
Well, I mean, he wrote him into existence first.
Again, we then get the wildest scene, I think, in this movie. Because somebody had to write this scene. And then R.L. Stine was like, I love this. Definitely do this.
Well, I don't know that R.L. Stine said that.
I bet he did. Because this is... Slappy finds out that they're at the school. He drives there in his haunted car and with the lawn gnomes. And then they set free every single monster that you've ever heard of from an R.L. Stine book. And then put the books into this giant pyre and set them ablaze.
It's really good. They have it like in a Junji Ito spiral.
Yeah. And I cannot believe R.L. Stine was cool with that. Like this is a movie that functionally is like every single thing that R.L. Stine written is evil. It's so evil, in fact, that it should be destroyed.
But that's like a fun horror movie message, though, right? So many people who watched, I can't remember the name of the stupid movie now, so now I can't make the reference. What's the one with the videotape?
Oh, The Ring.
So, The Ring.
Ringu.
So many people who watch that would watch the Ring videotape if it came up on their YouTube feed.
110%. I would watch it.
So but that makes it perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, like to be R.L. Stine and to be told, hey, we're going to have a great scene where every single book you've written is going to be burned on a pyre.
But I mean, they're burned by Slappy, the garden gnomes, and a weird pumpkin-headed man.
Oh, you mean, sorry, real quick. Do you mean the pumpkin head from Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns? Yes.
You know what, Andy? I probably do. I don't want to mention one thing, because looking back, it's kind of fun. Slappy did not burn all the books. He kept one to use as a Pokeball later.
Oh, that's right.
And that's just, we don't see him doing that. It's just fun to think back to this scene and think like, but actually he has one more.
He's got one up his little puppet sleeve.
Yeah. So the kids, all right, I don't want to be this guy.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be this guy.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nobody wants to be this guy. But here I go. If it were me, I would just not tell a group of like maybe up to 300 people that they're in mortal peril and need to barricade the doors while they're at a fucking dance. Here's what I would do. I don't know if it would be a better idea or a worse idea. I would have told the adults, I'm sorry I keep trying to get the adults to be characters in this movie. I would have told the adults I would have barricaded the doors. I might not have said monsters. I might have said there was something, though. And we would barricade the doors and we would let the dance go on. This would not have worked, to be fair, because of the giant bug.
The giant bug really is a force to be reckoned with.
This is the thing, is the giant bug is always the one who's like, oh, turns out you underestimated what R.L. Stine can do. When the giant bug comes in, you're like, fuck!
There's when Zach is trying to, I love this scene so much, and I wish they just let this kid die. Because there's this kid who's like, oh my god, no, he's right. There's a monster out there, and he makes a dumb joke, and everyone laughs. He's like, yeah,
it's the boogeyman, it's picking his nose. Pretty C-tier joke, by the way.
Yeah, right, for sure. This guy's got one role in this film, and it is to be fucking eviscerated by this giant praying mantis. And it's so cool.
The next thing he says is, oh, there's a giant praying mantis eating everybody's cars. And everybody's like, okay, man, that's enough. And then it breaks in and just fucking eats him like whole.
It's so cool. It's so violent, and I was like, damn.
By the by,
they should have just let him die.
The praying mantis has, like, basically fingers for a mouth, and I think that they're also rated for tearing. So, like, no fucking way.
This kid is dead. This kid is dead. I know he shows up at the end of this movie, but, like, this kid is dead. That's a different kid.
It is funny at the end of the movie when he is wearing, like, a neck brace and, like, arm casts and, like, smiling at R.L. Stine. Like, this was not his fucking fault.
Absolutely.
That's pretty funny. I could almost forgive it for that being, like, conceptually just such a hilarious idea.
You know, what they should have done is they should have done, I thought they were going to do, like, a Carrie reference here. I don't know how they would have done that.
What I said, so at first I thought that the theme of the dance was The Shining because of how it showed that. And then and so I was like, well, if you're doing a dance Stephen King theme, it's got to be Carrie.
No, right, 110%.
Turns out there's not really a theme of this dance.
I think the thing to do is to just have the monsters start attacking the kids at the dance and have the dance slowly devolve into just teens fighting monsters.
Yeah, the teens don't really get to fight the monsters. Except Champ, I guess, he gets to fight a monster a little bit.
He gets to bite a werewolf, which kicks ass. It's good. I don't like this character. It's good. And then the scene continues and it's bad again. I'm really torn on it. It's a fun scene. I really like the idea that he has silver fillings, so when he bites the werewolf starts fucking burning. That's excellent. It's awesome. It's so good.
I super thought, and so here's let me bring up another problem I have with this movie.
Yeah.
Champ has read all the Goosebumps books.
He has read all the Goosebumps
books. So he
books.
should know all the monsters' weaknesses.
Yes, that is what I thought he was going to be doing through this movie.
The monsters do not have weaknesses in this movie.
No.
Besides the werewolf being weak to silver, almost, I think nobody else has like a specific, like, this is how he is beaten in the book. I for a second thought, because I, again, never read this book, that the werewolf turns back into a human if it's bit by a human, that he gets reverse werewolfed. I was like, is this what happens in that Goosebumps book?
That would be very funny.
But it turns out it's because he has silver fillings, which is still pretty funny.
It's good. It's a fun bit.
This was straight up the second time that I was like, oh, these two are gonna go fuck now. The first time was when the kids were in the woods. But these two, I suddenly had the realization that, like, these are a bunch of teenagers rapidly approaching adulthood and also rapidly approaching death at the same time. And every unused classroom is gross right now. There's no fucking way.
Listen, man, if a teen will, they make do.
I was really suddenly very distracted by, like, the setup of this. Like, the adults are not watching the dance anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is the problem that, there is an ongoing monster attack.
It's just like this town is gonna have like a big child boom in 9 months because of this monster attack. There is a big spike in teenage pregnancies on the map.
I don't think so. I think for the most part, the teens seem to be more in like fight mode than flight mode. I guess
what I really want is to have seen more of the teens in fight mode, so I could have bought that.
I agree. I do think that what we should have gotten is, one, we should have just gotten a bunch of teens fighting monsters.
I fucking watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah,
teens
right?
can fight monsters.
And then, you could even have a little joke, where Jack Black is like, this is why all of my main characters are children.
That would be pretty good.
But Slappy, while all of this is happening, Slappy finds Stein and breaks his fingers. Although I don't think that's what happened. I think R.L. Stein's like, listen, the kid, you got to write the book now. That's the plot. My hands hurt.
Yeah.
He drives a bus with his broken fingers.
Again, this would be a real good way to get Amy Ryan to be a secondary main character in this movie for a minute.
Just have her drive the bus. Why is she not involved in her son's action scene?
Okay, he steals one bus. I don't even know how this happens. Because I feel like the setup for it is nowhere. One of the buses is somehow driven away as a distraction by, as far as I can tell, no one?
No one.
So I don't know how that worked. Did they just like put it in drive and throw a brick on it and think
I think they put a dummy in it and then like put like a steel bar on the gas is what the camera work tells me.
It's so strange. Like I don't see how this works literally at all.
No, this is in fact the power of cinema that is happening, because it is such a ridiculous bait and switch. Like, how do you miss a whole other bus?
If they let Champ be a real nerd, or instead of having the coach hitting on Zach's mom, it was like the like tech teacher who was like, oh, I could remote control a bus, like something like that.
Yeah.
Like in a fucking episode of Mythbusters, where they have to drive a car around, but they don't want to get into a car crash with it.
Yeah, because their insurance was like, you absolutely cannot have a human driving this car.
Don't put a human body in this car. Yes. That part's super weird, and the other part that's super weird is somehow the monsters only see the one bus driving away, despite the fact that R.L. Stine and the kids all get on another bus. Third thing, smaller thing, but buses are not usually parked at the school overnight, so those shouldn't even be here.
They tend to have their own place where they belong. This is a small town, though, maybe.
I would like to mention again, I'm going to allow this to go past, but it would have made a lot more sense if they just took Amy Ryan's car.
Yes.
The setup of the scene almost makes me think that was originally what they were gonna do, and maybe they couldn't afford Amy Ryan anymore. Like
we have an entire setup, but that like the car is important to the like emotional bond between mother and son.
Right, because they have their fun little door lock thing, which is pretty cute. They cute. Again, the most I buy Zach is when he's hanging out with his mom. To the point where, like, if these two were the stars of a Disney Channel like sitcom,
show. Yeah.
It would be really good.
It would be really good.
I could just watch this single mom and her teenage son banter for a while. Like,
and then their bedazzled aunt. This is a great. Again, this movie's got real big Disney Channel original energy. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
For the tone that this movie's going for.
But it's a little weird because it doesn't want to follow through on those concepts as much. Instead, it kind of wants to do like a watered down horror movie, which I get because it's Goosebumps, but it just means that it can't hit the horror stuff as hard, so it just feels a little weak. Anyway, they end up in the back in the woods by the abandoned circus thing.
Yeah, the amusement park. The abandoned amusement park.
And they go into the Hall of Mirrors, the fun house, I guess you call it. Although it is a Hall of Mirrors, they're normal mirrors.
It is a Hall of Mirrors. There, I did not see a rotating tube.
Yeah, there's nothing wacky in there. It's just normal mirrors.
I didn't see a room where the floor is moving like left and right. These are all the things I expect out of a fun house.
Also, a little weirdly, Slappy shows up, obviously, and is, like, in different mirrors, and nobody is smashing the mirrors, which is fine. It's just that usually you'd be smashing the mirrors if you were doing exactly this scene in every other movie I've ever seen it in.
There is a great part of that where Slappy is like, I am you and you are me. We are the same, R.L. Stine. And then it cuts to a shot of, like, half of R.L. Stine's face and half of Slappy's face.
Slappy does also get a pretty good line a little earlier. A lot of Slappy's lines fall flat when he's just making one-off puns. They're rough and don't work.
No.
But a lot of the lines that he has across from Jack Black are sometimes really fun, where he says, I created you, Stein. Or did you create me? I forget. And I like that because it's clearly a taunt where he's like, you think you made me, but I made you just as much.
Yeah. If it wasn't for me, your books would have been nothing. It's great. It's so good. I agree with you. I think Slappy's kind of a nothing character, but again, we do get to see Jack Black punt a puppet at the end of this movie, and that makes it all worth it.
And it's fun.
It's a real puppet. Also, I cannot stress that all of Slappy's seeds are a real puppet.
You think they like stuffed a football inside of him so he could really kick it? Yeah.
I mean, they probably just made like a more solid dummy for the kicking scene. That's what I would do. You know, just make one out of like rubber or something. Because he gets a good kick out of it. It hits a tree and like spins out.
Slappy summons the final monster, which is
the Blob from the Blob that ate everyone.
Makes sense. And R.L. Stine gives Zach specifically the typewriter and basically tells him, you're the main character. You finish the story.
Finish the story.
I would have given it to fucking Hannah. But maybe that's just me thinking that he should think anything of his own daughter.
Of his own daughter. Well, him and this kid had an emotional bonding moment about how we should ignore his daughter until the end of the movie.
They're about to have another much worse emotional bonding moment that I'm going to hate. In a pretty fun scene, Jack Black goes and faces Slappy and gets got by the Blob.
Yeah.
And the blob is not eating him, but it's holding him perfectly in stasis. And Slappy's like, this is what it's like. It's like this to be trapped in one of your books. You can't move, but you know everything's just over there.
It's so good.
The kids climb the Ferris wheel, finish the story, and then have to bind it into a book. I did not realize that was part of it. But
they just kind of slap it in there and it happens. And I got to tell you, I wish bookbinding was that easy.
I assume that there was a much longer original scene where while he was typing, Hannah was like slathering the glue on the edges.
Sewing the pages together.
Yeah.
We want it to be a strong binding.
Yeah. And then the monsters, it was unclear to me exactly how this happened, but they were climbing on the Ferris wheel and knocked it flying in what looked like the thing that put the kids in the most danger this entire movie. Mm-hmm. It was like the scene in Pirates of the Caribbean 2 where they're fighting on the wheel.
Yeah,
Except they're not fighting on the wheel.
They're just holding on for dear life.
They're just trying not to fucking die right now. And random seats are just flying off. So, like, they're only getting lucky that the one they picked is not.
You know what's funny is I'm pretty sure the live-action Death Note movie also ends with a Ferris wheel. Very odd. Sorry, I don't know why I thought of that in this moment.
There is nothing funny about the live-action Death Note movie. That is a tragedy.
There is a lot funny about the live-action Death Note movie, actually, if you really think about it. So, they do it. They bind the book. Zach realizes that, if all the monsters are going to get sucked in the book, that includes Hannah. Once again, She is from the Ghost Next Door. And she's like, it's okay. You have to let me go. And he's like, I don't want to. And she's like, oh, well, you're gonna.
So...
Big kiss, and he does.
Okay, so here's the thing. I want to stop bringing this up, but I'll say it one more time. She shouldn't need to convince Zach to let her go. Zach has known her for like 30 hours.
For, maybe 2 days.
R.L. Stein needs to let her go because he wrote himself a daughter and kept her in his house because he was so alone that he just needed someone. And that is so sad. And he needed to have this conversation with her. But instead we just assume that he learns this off screen until we find out he fucking doesn't.
The ending of this movie is truly bananas.
He gets to punt Slappy. That's nice. I don't understand why he didn't get this good emotional moment. Hannah gets sucked into the book because she
could have made it back in time. Like
he honestly comes back right as she's gone, puts a hand on Zach's shoulder and a hand on Champ's shoulder, and just kind of nods. And I'm like, Jack.
This is the moment where Jack Black can really should have gone out and been like, no. Why did it have to be her?
If he broke down crying, or even if he just hugged Zach, which would have been so out of character for this.
Oh version. Yeah, that would have been great.
It would have given me something, but instead it's like, you did it. And this sad thing happened. But
now
you did it.
Now you are the R.L. Stein.
Now you are R.L. Stein. I pass on R.L. to you. Now I am simply Stein.
You have bumped the goose.
I guess it really was. Goosebumps, the movie.
The movie, 2015.
Yeah, so then we get a classic wrap-up scene.
Yeah,
Zach is no longer embarrassed that his mom is the vice principal.
Not really a thing to be embarrassed about, by the way.
I do kind of get it, because he's like, it's the first day of school, and I don't want to walk in with the new vice principal. I genuinely kind of understand, because it's going to give a rough first impression. But
I get that, but immediately after his mom bombs what I assume is the job interview with the kids.
Yeah.
He's like, that's my mom.
Here's the problem is they did not need this closure. Their relationship has been rock solid this whole time.
These are two people who love each other, care about each other, went through an immense tragedy, and we're even closer now because of it. Sorry, I've been my mom's child for 29 years, and I don't have bits with my mom. You know, like these two are close. If they're having like bits with each other, is
they
what
got
I'm saying.
bits. So Zach goes into school. Jack Black is teaching his English class because the last English teacher was, I guess, off screen. I'm not sure I saw it. Violently attacked by something. I think the giant insect got him. I think that's what they say.
I think that's what they said, yeah. Which, awesome, but I also wish I could have seen it.
I wish I could have seen if that's what it was going to be. I kind of would have liked it a little bit better if he was like, because the last teacher got attacked by the evil cuckoo clock. Something really weird and out there that we didn't even see.
The evil cuckoo clock is in this movie, by the way.
I know it's in this movie. That's why I brought it up, because it's not trapped in a book. It's just in his basement.
Hanging out.
So I guess it's not
fair,
that
it's
evil.
a perfectly normal cuckoo clock, you know,
Yes.
like.
So he's teaching them. He is dating Aunt Lorraine now, so he's having a, better time. And that's revealed that, he wrote Hannah back into existence, which I thought we all agreed was not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And she has her hair down, and it confused me. I'm being honest. It threw me through a fucking loop, man.
You were like, is that Chloe Grace Moretz? I didn't know she was in this movie. This is an actress who also just looks like this. I just named an actress who kind of looks like this woman.
I understood that from context. But Hannah mentions she knew the whole time that she was a ghost.
Because she says a girl can only have so many sweet 16s. So she knows that she's a ghost because she knows that she is not aging. Which means that him writing her back into existence doesn't fucking help. Well, maybe he wrote her back into existence and is like, and also she's aging now.
Weird.
Know.
I mean, the only way I think he could genuinely write her back into existence is if she's a vampire or a werewolf. Like, this time she's something else. And then we get a pretty good end scare that I quite liked.
I loved it. Well, because before that, when R.L. Stein's teaching his English class, right, he's like, there are three, all stories can be broken into three parts, the beginning, the middle, and the twist. And so, lo and behold, at the end of this movie, we get a fun little twist.
Fun little twist. The typewriter appears to be typing out itself, and it types out the words, "The Invisible Boy's Revenge." And then we get like a splash screen that turns into a cover of Jack Black just screaming.
Yeah, and then the end credits, which are sick as hell. That's the movie.
I will be right back.
Yeah, no
I have
problem.
to go to the bathroom.
Reader beware. Listener beware. You're in for a scare.
All right, thank you.
While Tony's gone, I'm just going to start reading these cameos, I think. There's a lot in this movie. Obviously, and I'm just going to go through them in order. We got, Hannah from The Ghost Next Door, The Cuckoo Clock of Doom, The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena, Night of the Living Dummy, The Haunted Car, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, Your Plant Food, Invasion of the Body Squeezers Part 1, 2, and Revenge of the Body Squeezers, Please Don't Feed the Vampire, My Best Friend is Invisible, A Shocker on Shock Street, The Werewolf of Fever Swamp, Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls, Calling All Creeps, The Haunted Mask, The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, Help We Have Strange Powers, The Creepy Creations of Professor Shock, Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, Toy Terror Batteries Included, we didn't even talk about the little robots, A Night in Terror Tower, Return of the Mummy, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, A Nightmare on Clown Street, Deep in the Jungle of Doom, How to Kill a Monster, Why I'm Afraid of Bees, The Creep from the Deep, Be Careful What You Wish For, Vampire Breath, Escape from the Carnival of Horrors, and of course, The Blob That Ate Everyone.
Thanks to that listener beware comment, there's a good chance I'm gonna have to leave me saying I have to go to the bathroom in the episode.
You don't have to. It's all right. I've made that joke a million times.
It depends on how funny it comes across, I guess.
Do you want to know something crazy? R.L. Stine is older than Stephen King.
I just looked this up today. He's like 81, isn't he?
Yeah, Stephen King is 77.
That is wild.
How tall is R.L. Stine?
I feel like R.L. Stine was like our generation. And Stephen King is at least a little bit older than that. Like, he started writing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you think of this movie, Andy?
I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
I think I have brought up all my issues with it. Like, I feel like my big problem is that I felt like it wasn't the best version of this movie.
Well, I mean, I think the frustrating thing is that, like, I don't think this is as good as, like, the Goosebumps show.
There are definitely episodes of Goosebumps, or, I forget that other one that was on TV when I was a kid. R.L. Stein's Horror Spookum or whatever.
Yeah, Be Careful What You Wish For, Camp Nowhere. There's a lot of adaptations of R.L. Stein's work, Fear Street, that are really good. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this movie is scary, or even like hits horror in that way. But I do think that as like a send off to kind of that kind of style of goofy kids work, I think it's fun.
Well, I think it's mostly more for you than for me. Because I did not grow up on Goosebumps.
I 110% was a Goosebumps kid, and also an Animorphs kid.
As a kid, I feel like we talked about this. As a kid, I was so afraid of being scared that I didn't read stuff that told me it was going to be scary.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, I was very often not actually scared of scary stuff, which I realized when I started reading Animorphs again, and I was like, holy fuck, these kids are in danger. I was like, this is stressing me, an adult, out too much. But when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's funny. Turn into aminals. Look, if you flip the pages.
We've talked about this a million times, but like the book where Tobias like just gets absolutely fucked and is trapped as an eagle and begins losing his humanity. It's horrifying.
Book 1, man. He gets trapped in book 1.
Is that really the first book?
Yeah, it's a bit later that he starts, losing himself to the animal thought process, but it's like book 1. At the end, he shows up and he's like, I had to hide and I became a bird for too long.
Bananas. I want to talk a little bit about the director of this movie, Rob Letterman.
Okay.
Because I'm looking here at his IMDb page, and I just want to read to you some of the movies that he's worked on, because he's had a career. The first long-form film that he directed was in 2004, and it was Shark Tale.
Okay. Big swing starting off.
In 2009, he then helped co-direct Monsters vs. Aliens. In 2010, he directed Gulliver's Travels starring Jack Black.
I see. He loved the rope scene so much, put it in twice.
He wanted to do it again. He then directed Goosebumps in 2015. He then directed Detective Pikachu.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Which means that I've read this list to you before.
You must have
probably.
done.
Because that's crazy.
To be fair, the interplay of CGI to real people in this movie did remind me of Detective Pikachu. Like, it felt like they were working hard to, even though the CGI didn't look real, to make it look like it could interact with the humans around it.
Absolutely.
Which is exactly what they do in Detective Pikachu. A movie that I have learned, by the way, is unpopular among a lot of people because they don't like the gross Pokemon. And they're fucking wrong.
They're wrong. That movie's great. I'm sorry. The Pokemon in that movie look good.
They look kind of weird, and that is correct.
Yeah, no, that is the appropriate, I think, go for doing this. Otherwise, it would just it would be too Mary Poppins-y, right? It would be too much like they're not they're not baked into the world. So, I definitely think that movie hit what it needed to function. I will also say that since the release of this Goosebumps movie, they have rebooted with Rob Letterman as a senior producer, the Goosebumps TV show, which I've heard is really good. It's on its second season. It's a Disney Plus original, so I don't know. Check that out, I guess, if you're into that. I will not be checking it out because I do not own a streaming service. Second season premieres in January, I think, or already premiered. Don't know. Yeah, premieres next January. Second season.
We don't have to advertise this.
No. Yeah, cut this out. Cut all this out.
Cut all this out.
Justin Long? Sorry. David Schwimmer?
Get out of here!
They got David Schwimmer?
Thank you for listening to Direct to Video VHS. I am your host, Tony Robusto.
I have been your co-host, Andy Reyes.
You can find me at Blue Sky and at inspiredbytrueevents.org. Both those are in the description.
Once again, I am without a home. You can find me on YouTube at, what was it again?
Ethical Games Journalism?
Thank you. Ethical Games Journalism. That is, all my fun video editing stuff's going to be on there.
Alas, do not know how you forgot that.
Yeah, because it's so funny, but it is a little too long for my brain to just pick out of the ether. Including Project Revolution, a project where me and my partner are trying to play through all of the Wii games in publication order. It is a long-term project for sure, but we're having a lot of fun with it. And what are we watching next time? Oh wait, no, hold on. A big thank you to
Scott Buckley. For Homeward.
You should be hearing.
Oh, hopefully right now, if nothing's gone wrong. Next time we'll be watching Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween.
Yes.
Which, looking at some of these stills, does not look as good as this movie. But we'll see.
I can tell you right now, has nothing to do with the movie we just watched.
Excellent.
So, yeah, we're in for a time.
We're in for a scare.
Reader, listener, beware. And have a haunted Halloween.
I'm the ghost of John Smith. I didn't like that energy. Okay, here we go. By the by, if you want a Death Note recommendation, it is, of course, the Death Note musical, surprisingly full of bops and ends in a much more satisfying way than Death Note does.
Yeah, you know what? I believe it. This might be the second or third time you've recommended this to me.
It's the only thing I think of whenever somebody mentions Death Note now, which is good because I've read a lot of Death Note and it was terrible.
Yeah.
That was a dark time. People fucking watching Death Note.
Can you believe it?